Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, today I'm going to be talking about why it took me a whole month to actually start doing Postmates, Uber Eats, and then I eventually started Grubhub and DoorDash. So, like always, if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. But the first reason why it took me so long to actually start doing these apps is, in my mind, I'm a very weird person. So, I think logically, but I always think of kind of all types of scenarios that could happen. So when I first, learned about Postmates and Uber Eats, which were the first ones that I knew about, I was just kind of like, oh, I wonder how this is. Like, it seems like kind of good extra money over here. So, I kind of just like looked it up, researched them, and kind of started watching ride-alongs, and I started watching just pro tips that, all the content creators started giving, or give, I'm sorry. So I was just, okay, like, I just started looking. I was just like, okay. So I kind of just got information in, and then I kind of like doing that at first, only because I want to know exactly what I'm getting myself into, so I won't be too surprised when it comes to, the actual experience coming. So I like to prepare myself, and for the most part, I feel like I did. So that's why it kind of took me a little bit of a long time, because I do like researching very, very thoroughly, and I'll even watch a couple videos, like, I'll replay them to get it stuck in my head if it's like really good tips. But the second reason was also because I'm a very anxious person, and I always think about the worst case or a bad scenario. So when I first started doing them, like, there's some YouTube, content creators that will put their, worst experiences, and it's good to hear them just in case, but it's not good for me, only because when I hear those, I feel like, oh man, like, I feel like this might happen to me. I feel like this is going to be, a thing that's just gonna happen to me, and I just think about the worst thing that can happen to me, and then I feel like those are the worst things that can happen to me. So I just feel like, I'm gonna be stuck in that situation, and I'm just gonna be very, very in a bad situation, basically. And then it just kind of, I had to get over that too, because, at first I was excited when I first signed up for them. I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna make extra money, I'm gonna be, um just, doing this, like, let's see how it goes. And then, like, when content creators made stuff, it was kind of exciting. I'm just like, oh, I feel like I can actually do this. So when the time comes, though, I get very, very nervous, and I kind of just get very, I kind of like freeze. I kind of just like start thinking, like, overthinking, like my heart starts racing fast. And then when I first did my very, very first delivery, I was I was like a nervous wreck. Like, I know it's only food delivery and stuff like that, but there's a lot of people that are this way. And, after my first couple deliveries, I was fine. I was just like, okay, like, I just have to get used to it. Like, this is something new. And then we are creatures of habit. So, my habits weren't doing this, or I wasn't used to it. So I was kind of just like, I was a little hesitant. But it wasn't, I feel like it was a good thing that I actually started doing it, because then, you get experiences, you get just a lot of stuff. Like, I've met a lot of really good people when it comes to, like, groups, and, like, learning, tips from them. And it's just really, really nice to actually, like, talk to people about stuff like that, and they'll understand you. Like, probably most of my friends, they probably heard of it, but, they won't do it. So, like, it's kind of like, I can't really talk about my friends about that type of stuff, but it's fine. But, it's really nice to, like, actually, like, talk to people, and then they'll give you tips. They'll be very nice for the most part. There are some bad people out there, but for the most part, there's really good people. And I've met, and then I've seen very good people and good YouTube content creators. So that really helped me not be too anxious. And every time I did my first delivery for Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash, I got nervous the first time too, only because it was a new thing. And, like, they're the same thing, but when in my mind, when I first started doing a different app, like, it's like a whole new experience to me. So I'm just like, okay, like, I don't know what to expect. Is it the same thing? Is it a little bit different? And they're all a little bit different, especially coming from Uber Eats to DoorDash. It was a little bit different. So I had to kind of get over that, and I did get over it eventually. And then when I did, like I said, I'm glad I did. So, yeah, but being anxious is a very real thing. Like, some people might, brush it off, but it can be very, very tough sometimes, especially when you're not a very social person, or you don't like talking, or you don't like being around a lot of people. But it was a good experience, and I'm glad I did it. So the third one that kind of made me hesitate too was when I told my dad that I was gonna start doing it for extra money, and he just kind of didn't believe me and kind of brushed it off. So, like, I told my mom, and she was very supportive. She was like, if you're gonna make money, then go ahead and do it. But when I told my dad, he kind of laughed it off, and I'm just like, oh, it was kind of weird because I'm just like, I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to, just tell you what I'm doing. So he kind of brushed it off, and it kind of made me feel some type of way. Not in I shouldn't be doing this, but it kind of just made me hesitate. Like, why would he laugh at that? Like, why? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it funny, or why don't you believe me? So he actually said he didn't believe me, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just not gonna tell you then, whatever I do. So it was just a very weird moment at that time, and I'm just like, should I even do this? So he kind of gave me a little bit of doubt, but I definitely did do it, and then I'm glad I did it, and there's no turning back, and it was just really, 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 like I said, it was weird. Like, I don't know why he didn't like want me to do it, or why he didn't believe me, because it's just, I don't know, it was just kind of weird. So like I said, it just made me hesitate a little bit, but it's fine. Like, I got over it very fast, and then, but it did give me a little pause. And then the fourth thing would be, like I said, doing research and just looking up tips for the apps. That kind of takes a long time for me, because I like really researching thoroughly. So even when I bought my Tesla, I researched it really, really deeply. Like, I looked at reviews, I looked at people that actually own the car, I looked up the things on forums, on the Tesla forums, I looked up at other forums. I just kind of looked at everything, like, like how everybody's experience has been, or what they've experienced. So it was kind of like, with buying a Tesla, I think it took me maybe a month or two to actually decide to get it, and then I finally did it. And with food apps, I kind of just wanted to gather so much information where I could be like, okay, good. Like, I'm going to remember this, I'm going to remember that, I got to do this differently, I got to do that. Like, let me do this, let me do that. And then it really helped me, because for the most part, it gave me good tips, and it just helped me do that. Like, texting my customer, like, when I'm on my way or stuff like that. Some people, the YouTube creators, kind of said that, and I'm just like, okay, that sounds like a very good thing. So I kind of just got everything, and I'm just like, okay, cool. So I'm going to do that. And then you're just learning little tips and tricks like that. And it's just nice to actually research things before you start doing them. And then even when you do research and do them, you don't know what it's going to be like until you actually do it. But it was nice to actually get some actual information, and just be sure that I was going to do okay when it came to the apps. So the last one would be kind of getting rid of an employee mind state. So I feel like there's a lot of drivers that think that they're employees. So I feel like they feel like they need to take most things, or even everything, which is definitely not the case, because even DoorDash says it themselves on their website, you can never get deactivated for acceptance rate, but they will tell you certain things to try to scare you off from not accepting many things. So I feel like, especially when you have a W-2, I've never had a W-2 in my life. I've always been self-employed. Either that, or I worked for my dad, which wasn't a W-2. But I've always been on my own, or I kind of just learned the business that my dad had, and then I incorporated it, and then I do that too. So it was kind of like, I don't want to have an employee mindset, because, to be honest, in the beginning, I didn't do the best when it came to accepting things. I feel like, first of all, I messed up, because I really, really just did Postmates and Uber Eats, and now out here in my area, at that time, Postmates wasn't even showing you how far the customer was, and then Uber Eats, just like always, they only tell you the restaurant. So I messed up when it comes to that. I feel like I lost out on probably pretty good profits, but for the most part, even after that, I would take almost everything. But that's not a good thing because that's an employee mindset, and that's what I had in the beginning. But then I started looking at other YouTube channels, the ones that actually, kind of told you to cherry pick or to get the ones that you think are worth it to you. So that kind of helped me too. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I can make this much money. Because to be honest with you, when I first signed up with DoorDash, I think their minimum was, like 5 or 5.50, and I would get a few of those. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna take these. Like, that's not too bad. Like 2 miles for 5.50, that's fine, And then it was bad because for my mindset, it was before with Uber Eats. Like, you wouldn't make much money with that. Even with miles, like I would probably make $5 or $6 for 2 or 3 miles, which isn't too bad. But it was just like, oh, okay, like it's not that bad. It's almost the same thing. But that's because I kind of had an employee mind state. And then once I kind of got out of that and then started looking at cherry picking or looking at multi-apping, that's when I'm just like, oh, okay, this makes even more sense now. Like, I've lost out on a lot of money because I didn't do this. So that's why I do love multi-apping now, because the experience and the knowledge gained from multi-apping, from hearing all the content creators like UDM or head coach get coach Jake. It was just really, really good because it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to set my minimum. I'm going to set, what I think is worth it. And DoorDash and Grubhub gives you that chance because they tell you all the information, or most of the information you need to know before you accept or deny it. And Postmates and Uber Eats doesn't allow, they don't have that, sorry. It's not they don't allow it, they just don't have that. So, it's kind of just, I just messed up in the beginning doing that. And I feel like, because I had an employee mindset too. But, after seeing, just people multi-apping or, just hearing about it and looking at YouTube videos, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Like, I probably make $9 or $10 more an hour doing it. And it was just really, really good to get the research, the information, and actually incorporate it. Because until you actually do it, you don't know what you're missing out on. So I was definitely missing out on, because the most I would make on Uber Eats, to be honest with you, was $16 or $17 an hour. That's the most. But for the most part, I made maybe 13 to 15, which isn't too bad, only because I don't waste too much on electricity. But compared to making, 24, maybe even 30 an hour on Grubhub and DoorDash, like, there is no comparison. That's double the money. Like, that's, it's kind of ridiculous how big of a gap that is per hour. Remember, this isn't per day, this is per hour. And then I work maybe 4 or 5 hours per day. So it was like, that's $40, 50 extra dollars. So it's just very, very, it's very good to be knowledgeable and not have an employee state of mind. It really, really helps. But anyways, guys, I know this video is getting long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and give it a thumbs up, and have a great night.